Hey everybody, I'm Tim, and today I'm going to tell you about my $100,000 cigar. And first I want to ask you to drop a comment. What is, for you, if you're an aficionado, the ultimate ungettable cigar? Hell, it could be anything from any hobby. That one brand, that one thing that if you saw it come up, the guitar the celebrity played, the football that the quarterback threw, whatever it is. For me, it's going to be cigars. And in my world, this is something that's very special when it's historic. There are a few cigars out there to me that come with an incredible story and are a part of history. There's like these Mayan cigars that are 3,000 years old or whatever like that. They're not even really cigars, but they kind of count. There's also, J.C. Newman has in their factory what they say, the oldest cigars ever made from like 1846 or something like that. Hell, there's even a half-smoked cigar that Winston Churchill smoked on, and I think that's in like the Davidoff of London or something like that. Somewhere in London, they've got one of Churchill's cigars. I would go way out of my way to get one of JFK's pre-embargoed Cubans, one of the ones he got right before he signed the Cuban trade embargo, because to me, all of these cigars have profound history around them. In my personal collection, I've got only a few top tier cigars, and all of them for me are top tier for that exact reason. They come with an incredible story, an incredible piece of history, or in this case, an incredible lesson that I will never forget. And so today I'm going to tell you about this. In fact, I'm hoping that I can turn this into a series where I can tell you a little bit more about how I got into the world of cigars, because truth be told, it's the craziest thing that's ever happened to me in my lifetime. It's something I haven't talked about a lot. A lot of people who watch the Cigars Daily channel know that I started out as a clerk in a brick and mortar and became the operations director of a large cigar company. But there's a lot in between there that's really pretty unbelievable. This is one of those stories, and I'm going to let these out sort of as I can and think of a great way to tell them. But I want to show you this first so you can get a close-up look. And if you are a premium cigar lover, you'll quickly recognize that this cigar is not fit to be smoked. It's more fit to be played like a flute, really. This is this is the most beetle-eaten cigar in my entire collection. There's probably 20 cigar beetle holes all over it. They're even in the foot of the dang thing. Yes, this cigar is utterly destroyed. And so I'm not saying that this cigar is worth $100,000 or that I'd ever put it up for auction. The truth is, the value of this cigar today is probably $0.00. The thing is basically unsmokable. This is my $100,000 cigar because that is how much it cost. It's one of the most incredible stories, and it taught me one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned in the world of cigars. So at the first cigar company where I ever worked, I was an operations director. It meant that I did the company's ordering, and I oversaw some of the brick and mortar shops, and I ran an e-commerce site for them. I was in charge of marketing for the company, which, by the way, is not a job I was really trained or fit to do at all. I just kind of had to hack it and figure it out. And because of this, I spent a lot of time sitting in meetings that I really wasn't well equipped to be in. I worked there alongside of my boss, who was sort of the shot caller, the final decision maker, the guy who had the vision and direction of the company. And he didn't own the company, but he was in charge of running the place. And so we sort of bounced ideas off each other and tried to work our way through the cigar world. And one day we had an opportunity to meet with somebody developing a very exciting project. You see, a friend brought in an acquaintance of his, a fellow who was developing an energy cigar, a cigar infused with caffeine and B12. In fact, there's still an article about this cigar on Half Wheel, if you care to look it up. But it sounded pretty cool. In fact, it was actually a really well thought out idea. At the time, we thought there was going to be a premium line of energy cigars that, back in God, what year was this? 2016-ish, 2016, 2017. There was going to be a line of premium energy cigars for brick and mortar cigar shops all over the country. But then there was also going to be small, like vacuum sealed 2-packs that were going to be cigarillos designed to be put into gas stations and truck stops and the kind of places where guys go to buy copious amounts of energy drinks and other energy products. It seemed like it could be the next big thing in cigars. So we're having this conversation with the creator of the energy cigar. And this was just like too good to be true, almost too good to be true, except for one fact. The company developing the energy cigar was going to sell distribution rights for this cigar to a couple of companies in America. That means that any brick and mortar shop that wanted to get it, any truck stop that wanted to get it, any gas station wanted to get it, had to come to that distributor to pick it up. And the cost of that distribution was high. You see, people sometimes sell distribution rights for product like these. In the case of the energy cigar, the distribution cost was going to be $175,000 for 10 years. And we sat down and talked about it and said, gosh, that's a lot. But also the project seems like it's going to do really well. This should very well be able to make that money back on this project that will for sure make much more than that. Well, after a lot of hemming and hawing and sleeping on it and trying to think it through, my boss took a contract with the energy cigar guy and signed it and gave him $100,000 of the company's money to secure those rights. After that, he went on making payments in installments. And I don't remember exactly what the number was. It seems like we ended up giving them about 120 to 130 grand and got ready for this thing to hit the market. Now that year, we got to go to the big premium cigar trade show. These days, it's called PCA. Back in the day, they used to call it IPCPR. They haven't really ever figured out what to call that thing, but right now they call it PCA. We went to the big trade show where the guys had their own booth. They had all the branding for the energy cigar. They had everything there except the actual cigars themselves. For whatever reason, the cigars weren't really ready. And now I'll tell you this about the cigar world. That's not altogether uncommon. It's very frequent that you go to the trade show and projects that cigar makers are working on, there's not samples there. The packaging didn't quite make it in time. There's a lot of logistics behind a cigar. So that is the kind of thing that can happen from time to time. So that wasn't altogether that odd. But then I started looking over some of the information about the cigar, and I started looking over the price sheet of the cigar, and I noticed some things were wrong. Like the wholesale cost of the cigar didn't leave nearly enough margin for retailers. And I told the guys who own the company, I said, nobody's going to buy this. You're not going to open up any accounts at this trade show with these small margins. What are you guys doing? It got a little contentious there at the trade show. But that wasn't really where things went off the rails. It wasn't until we came back to Phoenix and we got a call from the company's accountant. You see, my boss and I worked for this company, but neither of us owned the place. And so the accountant called and said, hey, I was looking over the books and noticed that there's $100,000 missing. Can you guys tell me where that is? And my boss told the guy, oh yeah, we put a down payment on the distribution rights for an energy cigar. This is going to be huge. This is like the next big thing. And we're just going to absolutely crush it with this thing. And the accountant said to him, you don't have the authority to do that. What were you thinking? You need to go get that money back. And that day, I learned an unbelievably valuable lesson about business. There are things in this world that can seem like they've got unbelievable promise, like it's an opportunity. Maybe it's not too good to be true, but a great opportunity. And those same things that seem great one day can just as easily turn into the biggest nightmare you can imagine the very next day, because that's exactly what happened. What one day was going to be super joy over opening accounts to distribute the energy cigar to endless truckers and sports people and people who love cigars and tradesmen in different crafts suddenly turned into the most stressful thing that I have seen and experienced in the cigar world. Now, after that, I'm afraid that the story doesn't really have much of a happy ending. You see, not only was a contract signed between my boss and the Energy Cigar people, and the contract allowed them not to give the money back, but also the Energy Cigar never came to market. It never hit the shelves of a cigar shop that I'm aware of anywhere in the world. After that, the guys who ran the Energy Cigar thing, they sort of, at least to me, seemed to disappear from the cigar world. I haven't seen them in like 7 or 8 years or heard anything about these guys. They basically disappeared out of the industry. And this cigar, as far as I can tell, all that's in existence of it today is an article on Half Wheel and this one sample right here that I keep in my collection. So yes, this cigar is not smokable, and I wouldn't smoke it by God if I wanted to. But for me, this is a very special cigar because it's about a lesson that I learned. It's about an experience that I had and a story that I will never forget. Going through this taught me a lesson about tempering my excitement for things in business, about thinking things through carefully, about taking the time to really consider things and go get wisdom from people who know better, and make sure that when you're going to make a move, that by God, you've got the authority to make that move. This cigar sits on the top shelf of my humidor where, as far as I'm concerned, it will sit forever. Although I keep it in this bag. I don't think there's any more beetles hatching out of it, but certainly at one time, there was a very lively cigar. But I will always hold on to this thing, and I'll ask you again to drop a comment down below. What is that one cigar that for you would just be the ultimate get? Whether it's a really expensive one, or even if you could just go back and relive a cigar experience with somebody that you got to sit down and smoke with, I would be really curious to know. But now you know. That's the story of the cigar. I was literally sitting in a lounge the other day with somebody who said, "Hey Tim, I saw your tour of your home humidor and you just kind of breezed past that you have a $100,000 cigar. How are you going to do that?" And then just drop that on us and then not say anything about it. And that's a big part of the reason that I'm making this video. But I'm also going to be bringing you guys, hopefully, some of the other stories of getting into cigars for me, because it is authentically, I can't think of anything I've ever personally experienced that's weirder and crazier and more colorful than what happened. There's a lot that happened before Cigars Daily. Anyway, drop your comments down below. What's the ultimate get? And thank you so much for joining me here. Please subscribe on this channel because I do want to continue to share with you guys here. This is Tim signing off for... I already did. I did my sign off for the other channel. That's going to happen a lot. This is Tim signing off for the vlog, and I will see you in the comments.